Bungalow Bill here. We're back in the campaign, and I was surprised to see that 3.3.8 has launched onto stable. I was intending that I was going to start a very hard playthrough when that happened, but of course I'm going to finish this playthrough first, and I have quite a few builds that I want to do before doing a very hard playthrough. So that will just have to wait until it happens. Now, we're up against two fairly unlikely partners. I may have failed to pull in anything except for the Terravore, so let's just knock the Terravore down. That's not going to take very long. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to bring the Tycho. Let's just watch from here and enjoy the stereo experience if I'm capturing stereo. If I'm capturing mono, you don't get to enjoy that. But I get to enjoy the stereo experience. So unfortunately we won't be able to bring the Tycho in. I am still working on it a little bit. I already recorded the intro for the next episode for it and started skinning it, but at the rate that I'm going, I have about a day or two worth of work to do on it before it's battle ready, and then sort of an undetermined amount of work before it's done. You can keep working on a craft forever. We'll see how into the looks I get. Yeah, so I wanted to bring all of these guys in. Unfortunately, it didn't really happen. This countdown is a lot longer than 3 seconds. I imagine it refreshes every time I pull in another one. Alright, we've brought in quite the party. I'm going to start as far away as I can get away with, and I'm going to make sure that I retarget things that are close to us to kill them before it's too late and they get a surround on us. So we'll pause as soon as the pause button works. And we'll shoot down the segment. Not the segment, we are the segment. We're going to shoot down the Monarch. I really only want to shoot at it with my Sea-Wiz, which I think would shoot at it anyway. My Thump missiles are certainly going to be a waste against this. The range is way too close. Amazing. It may ram us. Fortunately, we are way more massive than it.
Engaging now. Engaging now.
Let's see what we've done to the Monarch. It's still got particle cannons left, which means we didn't hurt it enough. But I would like to make sure that I get damage through to the Titan. We are running a bit low on the frame rate because I let the enemy spawn everything in. Enigma Swarm, I think? Oh, nope, this is a Scorn. A lot of Swarmcraft in here. We'll take some amount of damage. I don't expect it to be that bad. Hopefully our Hesh missiles make it. We're at quite the range. And as simply a APS vehicle, we are not that scary. I mostly wanted to get just a little bit of internal Hesh splash into the Titan. Knock down its firepower a little bit. Not that we did that terribly well. Let's see if we can sink it. See what's going on near us. Our lasers are probably going to, if we haven't lost our laser turrets, our lasers are going to start eating into these Swarmcraft. We don't really have much Sea-Wiz from behind. And it looks like the Imperatrix has gotten behind us, which is not great for us. Ideally, we'd make a much... Okay, we got the base of the Titan. This means that I'm going to take out the base of the Imperatrix.
Engaging now.
We can see and target underwater vehicles. I believe we saw before that the Titan has scuttle settings, so that shouldn't be an issue with it. Yep, too low. But we have supercavitation base shells, as well as sonar buoys. We've taken 2% damage due to primarily being flanked. I would imagine that our active defenses are not terribly effective right now. I do not know what did this. It's a missile craft. Scorn Swarm, missiles, it's the mothership, so it has all the stats. These are all missiles. I have no idea where all those little shells came from. I don't think they're from... Maybe they are from one of my turrets rupturing. Mine have ammo... I thought mine had emergency ejector defuses on them, so that wouldn't happen, but maybe I forgot, and maybe those are my shells. I do tend to forget that sometimes. The turrets themselves are ammo ejectored. I think. Like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so the turrets are ammo ejectored. Definitely possible I forgot the defuses, though. I'm actually going to take my eyes off the battle for a little bit, too. Okay, no shell loaded is stopping me from accessing the intakes. Either that or they're all disconnected. Oops. Alright, well, that'll do it. I'll put emergency ejector defuses on those later. That would explain why those turrets tend to be a little bit softer than I thought they were. Definitely why it's a good idea to test your craft and pay attention to whether or not what happens during the test is really what you were expecting to have happen. We're still running pretty slow. I don't know if this is because of bounding box collisions between the enemies. We're at a very reasonable volume. Okay, lost control ejecting. I believe we're rotating to shoot at it. It's hard to tell. We have some very accurate weapons, and we just shot at the water. And by accurate weapons, I mean that we actually have sonars and stuff to let us see underwater. I should probably put an altitude restriction on one of the guns so this doesn't flip all the way, or the top piece of the turret, so it doesn't flip all the way over and sort of expose the ugly underside. It was kind of an afterthought. Oh, these collisions with land could be doing it too. Oh, these poor little guys. I do have firing angle restrictions on my CIWS, and it's a little bit generous because it's designed to sort of allow them to shoot here, even though they couldn't shoot down here, which I think is sometimes causing them to traverse towards things that they can't shoot at. This is definitely where you start to see the downside of using a front sider, though. That more of a battleship style like the Tycho would be much better in this sort of fight, whereas in one-on-ones, the front sider is just the absolute best thing you can be doing. I do think this also has some significant difficulties at close ranges, not only because, well, I don't have turning thrusters on these missiles to allow them to rotate down quickly. I think a fair number of these have delays on their guidance activation, just that they go up more. Well, we'll kill everything eventually. I'll probably cut a lot of this because you don't need to watch all of that. I believe we do enough thump damage with our main guns to delete every single block in these and have 20,000 thump damage left over. They're that small. Oh, is this the main body to the Enigma Swarm? Oh, it's too late, it's gone. Are you really sustained by repairs? Alright. And there are leaving with a lot of their vehicles. We'll try to capture a lot of the stuff that's left in a fight before they get too far away. A lot of lag. Make sure my vehicle settings are fine. And I'll take a look at the enemy vehicles before I put too many holes in them. Alright, the Dawn Cutter. Oh, it's not dodging those. Oh boy, that's not good for it. I was trying to lock onto it and get a good look, but I was a little bit too late. My first attempt to lock didn't work. It wasn't the game's fault this time. I hit the wrong button. I hit Control Shift instead of Control Cap Lock. Alright, this did not take Hesh very well, I think, so it's AI dead. And we've got these little guys left. I forgot what they're called, but we saw them before. Pulsar. And I think those are some pretty significant hits for such a small vehicle. I think they're all that's left, too. The Scarlet Dawn craft that we've been against in this fight, despite the fact that their total cost was reasonably high, their tolerance for Hesh was quite low.
Moving out.
Let's put an end to these annoying swarm craft.
Listening.
We'll end these guys. So, I mean, given the fact that the Tycho's guns were built with a cost constraint rather than a size constraint, is kind of the reason they're not quite as good as they could be. If you really want to get optimally packed APS turrets, you really need to focus on fitting the Tetris into the turret size exactly right. This should be over pretty quickly. You know what? I'm cheating again. I just realized that. Alright. My detection's good enough on the Ra that I don't think it's going to matter that much. It's going to relay targeting information to all of the Thundershocks, and I expect them to have some pretty good accuracy. It's still not quite perfect, but it's pretty good. However, since we've got 0Q lasers, we're not just absolutely deleting them. I suppose we still wouldn't with 0Q because lasers are piercing weapons. I am not sure that these Enigma swarms could even touch the Thundershocks, much less the Ra, so there isn't really much that we're doing here other than torching all of these. So having them heal themselves ridiculously. Borderwise, with some of his craft, to seem to have better luck at annihilating these to the point where they don't heal each other than I do. When I fight them, I see them get rebuilt off of one block all the time. But he uses, please don't crash, what he calls his Generalizer Plus shells, which are just sort of everything. And I don't know what it is about them. I know that the Hesh will be pretty devastating, but it's probably actually the flak that helps make sure that there's not. I took 1% on a Thundershock. There's not just a little bit. There's not just a little bit of the craft left that winds up getting repaired.
Listening.
All right. So depending on what's here, I'm not just gonna fight it with. Okay, I'm just gonna fight this with the Sekhmet. Get this over with. Now. Naming yourself the god of death is Thanatos, is sort of a lot of hubris. And, you know, this is... You can take it with a grain of salt because I am speaking as someone who used Egyptian god names for the expensive part of my fleet, something that I've stopped doing, but the point was the ships that were designed to actually kill godlies sort of tongue-in-cheek got god names. Before I put too many holes in this, read our huge missiles hit. We'll take a look at it. Alright, classic Twin Guard shenanigans. 31 APS each. This and another 231 for the body. I think these are actually proper turrets, maybe? I think I saw chrome components. Oh, nope. Okay, those aren't proper turrets. Or maybe they are. Oh, the bottom one is for this. Okay, that makes sense. And then I think this used to be an ammo refinery. Foundry, that makes sense. I wonder if they converted these to not have ammo boxes in them. This one's at an angle, so it's obviously a deco or a mimic, but I can't tell with the other ones. Still kind of cool. If unnecessary. Alright, let's let the game begin. I'm gonna go to us once we start seeing these missiles that are incoming for us. Alright, our CWIS has started, and so has our LAMs. The LAMs on the SecMet are ridiculously powerful. So I did originally have sort of an Egyptian sub-theme going on, which you may have probably guessed by the vehicle names. There's the Egyptian gods. I have one vehicle named after a pharaoh, and then some that I don't believe I've used anymore because I built them a long time ago and they're pretty bad. They're all named after Egyptian animals. Wait, are we? No, okay, I thought there was some very broken stuff around us that are named after Egyptian animals. These missiles aren't getting anywhere near us. And I was going to do sort of a little bit of an Egyptian color theme as well. We're more than double the cost of the Thanatos, so that was sort of to be expected. Sort of with the gold and the turquoise and the white. And I mean, every color scheme needs black in it, so the black, of course, at least. If you're like me and you're not that good using colors with paint jobs, and occasionally have some poor contours in your vehicles that you really want to be able to hide, black is a very useful color to do that on the SecMet in general, actually. The settings are very bright right now, which makes it harder, but a lot of this stuff I just want to be not very visible because I just forgot to put a lot of the custom jet engines on this thing that it needs, and this is not really a good look for the craft. It's perfectly functional, but not necessarily a good look. I did it later, having forgotten about this. I can put these laser turrets somewhere else and they'll just be fine. They don't really need to be there. That's just a place that is really easy to route the LAMs through. Oh, did this get... No, this is the Foundry. I was gonna say, did Thanatos get healed back up? So, I was sort of gonna have like this futuristic Stargate Egyptian theme eventually for some of the crafts. I wasn't planning on doing it for a lot of them. I was just sort of building them in a form follows function manner. My more recent craft are starting to deviate from that a little bit, but even really the Tycho is the only one that really goes in that direction. We may need manual aiming. We should be able to see it, but I'm not sure if we're shooting at it. Oh, I mean, we would shoot at it eventually. I completely lost my train of thought. I do sort of have the issue that I can either think or talk. I can't really do both, which I suppose is better than not being able to do either. I have that going for me at least.
Listening. Moving out.
But, oh right, I was going to do sort of this Stargate SG-1 style theme and have, like, flying pyramids in space and stuff, but I never really made it happen. And my ramming vehicle doesn't function at all either. The reason it doesn't They did manage to fix the really awful collision stuff before
Moving now.
they shipped the beta branch off to stable.
Listening.
I don't really know what was wrong, but whatever was wrong, they managed to get fixed.
Receiving.
However, there's still the old problems with ramming. I do think it's still the case that sub-objects have less of a physics checking rate on them, so that
Listening.
if you have rams on spin blocks and stuff like the Reamer has,
Moving out. Listening.
it's way more likely to clip through things.
Listening.
But the other issue is just that if you're running at 40 frames per second and your craft is going at in excess of 160 meters per second, you'll be going at least 4 meters a frame in closing speed at your target. If your target's stationary, you could be closing in at 8 meters per frame if they're coming towards you at the same speed. And rams are only 2 meters long. So at a certain point, your chance of actually colliding with a ram is very, very low. And it begins to become quite a problem. I think in my tests with my ramming vehicle, it connects on the initial ram correctly.
Listening.
Maybe one time in 4 against a stationary target. What it does, it just destroys, just absolutely destroys the enemy target. Interesting, I only get the merge option when I'm zoomed in. There's definitely a lot of really weird bugs in the... It didn't merge. We'll split everything apart. Okay, well, everything's too far apart to be merged anyway, which is probably the issue, but it was weird that zooming in gave me the merge button, which didn't do anything. Ramses, Thundershock, Anubis. The Hive. How expensive is the Hive? Oh, it's really cheap. We'll just go delete it. I was trying to put together something that would be good, a good fleet to fight Eris with. But we'll delete the Hive. We'll put together a decent fleet for Eris, and then we'll focus on the Scarlet Dawn. Been recording for 30 minutes. We'll probably record for, I don't know, maybe 30 more. I kind of want to start pushing through the campaign, get onto the build videos that I want because I have so much to build. So much to build that, well, that's another thing I lost train of thought in when I was halfway through. I have a capture vehicle that I want to build, which I want to be a nod to Advance Wars, which is a game that I really like, which I would of course name the Sami because she's the capture specialist. That was not well thought out. She's the capture specialist in those games, and maybe style it after an Orange Star helicopter or something. It'd be very loosely based on it because in those Advanced Wars games there aren't a whole lot of pixels dedicated to the vehicles. And I haven't really done one of those aesthetic deco builds before because I'm not really a huge fan of decorations. I really like to style my craft based on the blocks in them rather than smoothing out the form with decorations to see that instead. But for those really small builds like that, it'd be fun to do, and it'd be fun to do them a few times. I'm going to see how I feel about them in the Tycho, how much styling I do based on decorations, and how much I do based on the actual physical form of the craft. I like to do as much as possible on the physical form. I probably will not put very much decorations onto the Tycho. We'll see. I'll probably spend an hour or two on decorations towards the end of the build after I've painted it. The main thing I want to do is good looking glass for the cockpit. I might spend a while on that. There's also a few other things that I have in mind, like barrel decos and that sort of thing, which I haven't really messed around with much in the past.
Listening.
So we'll see, it might be fun, it might not be. Then I have to make the I really want to use the meme ship.
Listening. Moving out.
But, well, alas, we'll send it very slowly over towards the Scarlet Dawn. But the sister ship, which will be the Tycho Under and a submarine, which hopefully I'll build, we'll see. if the Taiko turns into a dumpster fire we're not getting to,
Listening.
then we're not going to actually build the Taiko under, or if we do, it'll be very different in shape.
Listening.
We have to get a little bit closer. It'll be very different in shape. This is really overkill, but use the same subsystems. So I'm gonna... The Twin Guard likes to have slowdowns for collision reasons, so I'm gonna set a relatively low volume limit, and I am not gonna prioritize one of my large vehicles that'll take up all of the volume. It is supposed to tell me which one of these will spawn, isn't it? I don't remember where it tells you that this will spawn in the first wave or this will not. I don't want to not spawn too much stuff. That's actually good, but I want to spawn some of the vehicles that I haven't used that much, like the Ramses. Even if the Ramses isn't great, it uses, I believe, 2-clip Tetris. Which, efficiency-wise, could be way worse. It's not as bad as it could be. I don't know if that moved my craft because of the proximity of this enemy vehicle. I wish it showed the sort of rings around my vehicle that the enemies aren't allowed to go into. I have a strong suspicion that they violate those, but can't see them, so I can't know. So, build a Taiko under, and then I have not really messed around with... Let's see what we spawned in. Everything up to the Anubis. Okay. I thought we'd get the Anubis, but I wasn't sure. I haven't messed around with particle cannons that much. I used them a little, and in the past I've never been very impressed with them, but they've been getting tweaked now and again for a long time. Imperatrix again, right? Or is this something else? Oh, Shadow. Okay. That's my vehicle. Cyclops. So they've been... This is a big Deadly Blade stack. I took over some of my weapons. They've been getting tweaked now and again, and this is the last time when I was building and testing out just the little one that I've put on the Taiko. I was very impressed by them. So I want to make a particle cannon vehicle. What I'm thinking now is sort of something that would kind of look like a large fighter. It, wouldn't really fit in that role. It'd probably be a little bit too expensive for it. But it'd take over the slot of the torpedo bomber for anti-submarine warfare. Except it would be able to hit things that aren't in the water. We are not putting much damage into this because we're just shooting it with lasers and it's smoking, and it got healed a lot. Let's see. Oops, that's editing it. I am in the wrong menu. We've taken a little bit of incoming fire. Oh, these are old Thundershocks. They're not... Oh, no, they're not. I thought I saw them shooting a blue laser, but no, these are the newer ones. At some point, I should owe it to myself to make these look better. Although, I say that they're the new Thundershocks. I rebuilt the turrets to be able to shoot up and down. So, and I haven't gone and re-edited these. All right, let's go to the Ramses. The Ramses is not amazingly balanced. There's too much drag on the front when it's going up and down. For the front is just sort of there for aerodynamics. It's not really part of the vehicle. So when it drops, as it's doing this bobbing motion, the bow pitches up because of extra drag forces on it. And the fact that when it cuts the throttle to go down, it doesn't reserve any portion of the or of the control on the CJEs for pitch. So not a great situation. I still use it occasionally for shelling ships, but I'm going to supersede it. I plan on making... This is long down the lines. This is after Tycho Ender, Capture Craft, Particle Cannon Vehicle, and then probably get more into the campaign. But I want to make some smaller vehicles sort of using the Tycho system, so something that would be sort of hover tank like, that would just have a main gun that's one turret from the Tycho, and might come in at, I don't know, 250,000, because those turrets, what are we shooting at? It's so far away it's hard to tell if this is the Shadow. No, this is a Sliver is what they're called? Yep, Trilobite. I do not know the Twin Guard craft very well, especially the submarines. I mean, I was really far away when I thought it was the Shadow. Alright. Here we are. That looked like it was a pretty good hit into the base. APS EMP is not good efficiency, but these have turned out to be surprisingly useful to me. They're really just there for the disruptor heads to help me punch through shields a little bit, which is something I was thinking about for the Tycho, because the Tycho is almost pure APS. So I was thinking, you know what, maybe I'll put one gun on that shoots disruptor heads. And I don't know what else. Maybe not smoke because it's a railgun, but maybe something else. I don't know what exactly. However, I don't really want to spend the cost on it. I'd rather just have to deal with some bounces. There's also the issue that shields have a tendency to power up pretty quickly, so you usually need a pretty high rate of fire on the disruptors. And if you don't hit the same shields that your rail shots are going through, it's not great. And if you're shooting slow disruptors and have fast rail shells, you just might not be able to hit the target that you're shooting at with the rails. With the disruptors, it might be too dodgy. Let's see when we see these. The Anubis is not amazing at taking down missiles. Although, to some extent, it might be better to watch the Eris, but it just saw them now. The flare is just launching. I think it's way too late for distraction. I still took them out, though. They didn't have very much health to them. So, I don't know. No disruptor heads for the Tycho, despite the fact that they've actually impressed me a lot more than I'd expect, given how relatively inefficient EMP is on APS compared to missiles or that sort of thing. Now, this is going to be difficult to kill. I don't know if that ratio has ever changed, though. I know it was really inefficient in the past, and sometimes I miss patch notes, so possible I missed something. I said, I'm not having any vehicles strongly specialized into EMP at the moment because of my experience with the torpedo bomber against the Argonaut, where it was using 2 EMP warhead medium missiles, and it was hitting the underside of the Argonaut and dealing no EMP damage. There is no way that there's enough volume to the Argonaut to fully dissipate 4,000, it's like 4,150, something like that, a little bit over 4,000, maybe 4,250. Anyway, a little bit more than 4,000 EMP per jolt inside that little volume. So, I don't know what was happening. They were hitting the main hull, not sub-objects, and the Argonaut wasn't AI dead, which meant that it had EMP vulnerable components, the mainframe, to hit, but it just wasn't able to hit it, because the mainframe has to be on the main body of the construct. I also think it had other EMP vulnerable things that weren't getting hit either. I have no idea where the EMP was going. But when that happened, we've already seen this. I switched to explosive and didn't switch back. I still find them useful in like swarm missiles that pepper the enemy vehicle all over and just strip out detection and that sort of thing. But I haven't had much luck just AI unplugged. They may have spoken of peace, but they have not lived up to that. They joined the Scarlet Dawn in their war against me. You can never trust the machine to become fully sentient, can you? Well, given their actions, I think that they were defaulting to their original programming here. The artificial afterlife. Alright, that's all gone.
Moving out. Listening. Moving out. Listening. Moving out. Listening. Moving out. Listening. Moving out.
I think the amount of force that we're left with right now is probably slightly excessive. I think we've got enough time for the recording to have sort of the big fight against the Scarlet Dawn. Actually, if I have the big fight against the Scarlet Dawn, I'm just going to end them. So I'll start preparing for that.
Moving now. Listening.
Maybe I'll do a little bit of capturing. There's not much of a point for it.
Moving out. Listening.
But I just have so many vehicles. Oh, I still have stuff in play. We are going to save the campaign. So something, as you may have guessed based on the save name of the campaign, is that even though I've occasionally done things that are a little bit cruel to the AIs in testing, like a little bit of commerce rating or, knocking down an undefended harvester or two, or in the case of the Lightning Hoods, I think I only fought one battle against them. I just ran the Raw down to the Quartzstone Fortress and just destroyed it when I got paid a bunch of money to fight them. But for the most part, I haven't been trying to crush them.
Listening.
And it's sort of the reason for the save game name. That I've been trying to see what the AI is doing rather than to just absolutely flatten them.
Moving now. Listening.
I want to pull in more enemies than this. When we do the very hard mode playthrough, and part of that's that this was on Beta Branch. I started this. I did not get my other vehicle. Oh well, we'll just deal with this as it is. That this was on Beta Branch. It was still very early in the testing, so I didn't want to be too hard on them. But it's gone to stable, so the AIs are going to be able to take their punches now, and to some extent on the very hard playthrough, the kid gloves are going to come off. Ah yes, firepower. I don't think our main guns, I don't think our central APS is going to be of the most use this fight. If the Hellfires are just dropping missiles, I think we'll be okay. I suspect that's what they do. They just fly over and drop missiles. Wait, was that laser firepower? It was laser firepower. What's the big thing that's shooting against us and that we're shooting back against? The Demos. So we've already fought this before. Big laser craft, not super expensive. I believe we have smoke. At least I think I put smoke on this vehicle. We seem to be riding a little bit low in the water right now. Yeah, there's a little bit of weakness in the armor in this corner, and I just never kind of fixed it. I don't think we're smoking ourselves though. It's hard to see with how dark things are. We're not taking a lot of damage, but I don't really see any. Looks like we've got a little bit of a block trail here, of a trail of block confetti. I imagine our rails are the ones that are really doing the work. Like most Scarlet Dawn craft, I don't expect this to tolerate Hesh very well. Oh, it looks like this could be given a really bad day by Shell in the right place. I think it just had a really bad day. But for these frontsiders, the real way to kill them quickly is to deliver Hesh to the sides or the top. I mean, if the collision rework gets the reamer, these look like laser components, gets the reamer working properly, so that the rams actually make collision when they should make collision, I'm going to start bringing that into fights, and that's a much more effective way of killing the Scarlet Dawn. If they shoot at something else instead, it will kill any craft that it hits. And it's only 20,000, so I can easily bring 2 of them. I see a bit of block confetti coming off of us, and we're not taking damage from the Demos anymore. Oh, we can't shoot back against this, can we? I let it get over us. It's not the Palladium, it's something else. Akplak. Just an APS gun with a hilariously long barrel.
Engaging now.
We'll see if we can do damage to it. It may just slowly kill us. I might have to end the campaign. If our missiles are still online, I think they can kill it by being launched into space. But if we're unlucky, we've just lost. I think we're unlucky. I think something bad happened to our missiles. I might just surrender and give up the vehicle. Yeah. I don't know. It looks like we've taken almost no damage here, so I have no idea what took the missiles out. Oh, maybe they don't fire against things that are that far away? No. We probably just lost the missile controller. Yeah, we can't elevate that high. We could kill a few of the other vehicles, but a little bit of bad luck. The Thundershock, well, if I had the other Thundershock in, we could at least fight back, but I can't. This probably would have been a pretty easy fight with a Bastet or something instead. Yeah, let's just... Oh, well, no forces will die, but...
Receiving.
We'll kill it with something that can shoot up. I simply didn't build the excessive force to fight that particular type of cheese. I mean, the Tycho would have similar issues, but it's way faster, so it won't get stuck under spacecraft. It can just run. I don't think we have smoke either. The reason that we don't have smoke is because I don't like how the laser warners look, so I just didn't put them on. Perhaps not the best reason to do something. There is absolutely no reason that the Elephant shouldn't have laser warners. Well, something disintegrated up there. Shooting star. Holds a bunch of little cheese turrets under it, it looks like. Although this might be on a light block. Are these all on light blocks? No. Just one of them. That's really vulnerable. It's really just hoping for the grace of God. Looks like the Demos has an anti-missile cannon controller on its main laser, which is kind of cool, but it's probably not worth it. It would just spend way too much time killing those missile barrages while it dies. It should at least be getting some damage through. Although, I think it is probably just a strictly better way of killing missiles than LAMS is for the most part. I still don't like the idea of having my main gun be an active countermeasure on such an expensive craft. So, the excessive force performing poorly again, but Fortunately, we have other craft, which the XSO Force isn't exactly bad. In sort of the big battleship on battleship fights, it holds its own okay, even though the guns aren't constructed well. The armor scheme leaves something to be desired. I don't like a lot of the design decisions that I made for it. Okay, actually, I did say that the Bastet would have an easier time. The main guns on the Bastet I still don't think can elevate that much because they're max gauge. And the Dandelions may have the same issue. And I didn't retrofit this Thundershock. We'll see. The Bastet is so fast that I find it unlikely that it's going to have to shoot up that high. So this is what it actually looks like. We saw it at night before. Hydrofoils. Oh, this is not the version that can turn. Hopefully there's no land. I didn't retrofit this. Well, we're already hitting things, so... I would like to see the enemy getting their just desserts for putting weapons in space. But this is sort of the downside about this type of vehicle. Oh boy, that was sure a thing. That seems like it was just chock full of unejected frag ammo. I still don't think that the enemy vehicles are in a position where I'm ever going to... Looks like I kind of shrugged off that Hesh. It was like the Hesh particles didn't spawn inside of the craft. It's like they spawned outside instead. Or I'm going to use spacecraft against the enemies. They just don't seem to tolerate it well enough. Our main guns shoot very fast shells, and so does our smaller CIWS, but we're still having a bit of trouble. I don't know if this has much laser left online. Maybe it's... Yeah, there's a lot of holes in it. It still said it had laser firepower, but it wasn't firing any lasers. Oh boy. It's not AI dead. The AI is... Oh, 2 damage. The AI is somewhere else. This is a very high altitude for missiles to be working. I sort of wonder if they have a different adjustment from the way that vehicles handle altitude. I don't think I retrofit the... let me pull up the Dandelions before they crash into each other. I don't think I retrofit the Dandelions in that fleet either, which is why they're going nose up so much. Yeah, I haven't retrofit anything.
Receiving. Moving now.
Alright, unless there's something else that's required to kill the Scarlet Dawn, I believe this is it. This is going to round out the hour of recording.
Receiving.
And this will be, I believe, the last fight in the campaign. Unless, you know, we lose. There's 2 resource harvesters, or not 2, there's 2 transports. The Scarlet Dawn's partially a resource harvester, significantly scarier than it used to be, and I believe the Magnetar is also a resource harvester. We're kind of in an enclosed little area, so it's possible that our Lungfish and our Elephant are going to crash, and it's also possible they won't do anything. Or at least the Elephant won't do anything, because it's shooting crams, and the Scarlet Dawn is very fast. Let's take a look at the Scarlet Dawn. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I know I've seen the upgraded version that's actually kind of scary. It used to just die. It was really bad. It was classified as being an easy design. It might be medium now. I don't know exactly. I didn't manage to spawn everything in on either side. So, looks pretty cool. I've never really liked the look of barrels that touch the deck, or even when the bottom of the turret touches the deck. I like when there's a gap between them. Currently, the way that my Tycho turrets are built, kind of like this. This has a turret neck, but the barrels are still in sort of a weird place. So, sort of like the Tycho turrets are built in a way that I think the turrets will touch the deck. These are not very scary stats, though. But sometimes stats can be deceiving. There's some weapons that grossly overperform. So I might change them slightly so that they use a turret ring. Although we might have already put a hole in it to generate those stats. Oh, that was really bad. We missed the transient as basically a sitting target. Well, it decided to shoot a Thundershock. Actually, let's see what happened to it. I needed to be in the tactical mode. So it looks like the Scarlet Dawn lasers like to take out small vehicles, which is understandable. The Scarlet Dawn costs 20 times as much as a Thundershock, so regardless of how I build this, it is going to get ripped in half. I think it has smoke. I think this is, well, it wouldn't really matter if it has smoke or not. It would just die. Oh, right, it doesn't have smoke. It's a laser craft. I was thinking I've put smoke in everything that's slow. No, it is a laser craft. It doesn't have smoke. I'm still considering making these into either 4-meter slopes or poles, and then raising the upper and lower decks by 1 meter height-wise, so that they're either, I think poles are like 80% of a beam, maybe a little bit less. And the slopes are half of a beam, so it'll be more like a layer and a half of deck armor. I don't think it's really shot at the Anubis yet, which is kind of the thing that is eviscerating it. Yeah, I hit control caps lock, and like 50% of the time it moves my camera but doesn't lock onto anything. Hesh missiles from the Lungfish. A few kinetic rounds from the Lungfish as well. Timed fuse crams coming in from the Elephant. Interesting engines. It looks like very scaled up laser barrels. And low health. Okay, so it's very paper, like very glass cannon armory, so railguns just kind of destroy it. I'm not sure I'm in love with them, but they're definitely interesting. And they're definitely, I think, better than just not doing anything at all. I might not do this exactly on a vehicle, but it's definitely a thing to think about. It looks pretty good. Time multiplier. Yeah, not a great score. I wasn't exactly trying to beat this in record time. Anyway, that's enough for this episode, I suppose, and enough for the series. I hope you all enjoyed watching. I hope to catch you in the next one. And if you feel like supplying me with some dopamine, feel free to click on the like or the subscribe button down below the video.